The Twins dropped the opening game of the Padres series in what a friend of mine called the least concerning loss of the season. So we'll break that down. We will talk a little bit about a comp for Willi Castro that I think some people might find interesting, and then some distressing news about TC Bear. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren. You can unfollow me on the tweets at Brandon_WARNE. And as I like to call myself when I wear the tank top doing the show, I'm Fat McAfee, if you want to call me that. So instead of Pat McAfee. But hey, we're hanging out with you on Locked On Twins, again, at Brandon_Warren. And been watching the Twins for 3 decades, covered them for about half that long. I am joined by Mr. Dave Brown. Talk to him, Dave.
Are you telling me that we're live on the air?
Yes, we're live.
I'm nervous. It's different.
Bert Blyleven moment.
It's okay. I'm Dave Brown. I'm different than Brandon Warren. I'm a different person. I've been in the BBWAA since 2012. I've been covering baseball since 1998, the summer of Sam Sosa and Mr. Mark McGuire. And yeah, that's all I have for the moment. We're going to talk about Twins, though, and we're going to get locked on it and locked in it and locked up it.
Okay. Thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And, of course, as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, we're your team every day. Love to hear from you, especially in the live chat if you're watching right now. I always go back. I always circle back for the comments, and so feel free to leave those as well in YouTube or 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening. We love to hear from you. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, FanDuel customers, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Also, you can catch every pitch of the Twins' hometown broadcast with Chris Atterbury and Paul Molitor right now on Sirius XM. Just download the SXM app, search Twins, and it's going to be Bailey Ober against former Twin Martin Perez. 8:40 p.m. first pitch, Central Time against the Padres at Petco Park. So start drinking your coffee as I've been here, getting ready to stay up for that one. And then it'll be Simeon Woods Richardson against Mr. Waldron, the knuckleballer, to close out the series. And then the Twins are off Thursday, come back home for St. Louis and Atlanta. We'll talk about that more later. I had a friend say that he felt the Twins' 5-3 loss to the Padres on Monday was probably the least concerning loss of the year to him. And in a lot of ways, I guess I agree because, you know, there'll be people who, you can't believe Manuel Margot played this role and you can't believe this and this and this. And at the end of the day, I mean, Zebby Matthews didn't look great. He had some turbulence, only struck out one batter, only had 6 swinging strikes. But Michael King is a really good pitcher. Jason Adam is a phenomenal pitcher. Robert Suarez, also very good pitcher. The Twins did not do that much outside of a Zebby error and maybe an ungood pitch selection on 0-2 to Jackson Merrill. I don't know. I think I agree that while it stinks that it was a loss, generally speaking, it was pretty unconcerning.
I don't know. When you go into describing what you think of a loss and your immediate before you even tell anybody what happened was, this didn't matter. I get a little suspicious.
Yeah.
It seems like you're sort of giving up already. It was going in. It's not a game that you kind of expected the Twins to win. I think that's what people mean, that they had very low expectations because the back of the bullpen wouldn't have been available, in most circumstances. And the back of the Padres bullpen was available, and their starting pitcher was a little more experienced than the Twins. So there's all that. There's still, it's been a couple times now. Zebby's thrown in that game, in his recent games, a couple of pitches that were not very well located, or it wasn't a good idea to throw that pitch at all, or the hanging change up down the middle of the plate to Merrill on 0-2 pitch. As soon as it gets to 0-2, speaking of expectations, when a Twins batter gets to 0-2, I feel like, all right, well, this at bat's probably over, and I feel that way about like most hitters, that the pitcher should get the guy out. So,
right.
I have high expectations for these Twins, and while I didn't necessarily expect them to win the game, I thought, well, you get a couple early runs against Michael King. You don't make those mistakes if you're Zebby, and then maybe you get a competitive outing. But it didn't turn out. So it's not concerning. I would say that I liked, I guess, how Zebby came back after, if you include the error and the bad pitch, he didn't give up any more runs after that, and that's good. So it's all part of a process. It's funny how you started out talking about the game, and the first thing you said was, "Oh, Manuel Margot played," and that's, in a way, that's very that sort of explains what people think about Manuel Margot. They don't get much out of him. So, long story short, there it is.
So Zebby made an error, and one of the funniest, quirkiest, weirdest things this season is that Twins pitchers are like -10 defensive run save or something, just completely bonkers. And somebody posted that. It was, I don't know if it was, or it had something to do with, I think, StatCast or Fangraphs defensive values, where the Twins pitchers were definitely very much the worst across all of MLB. And so to see that kind of manifest in a way where it could have been more or less the difference of the game is, I wouldn't call it funny, but it's interesting.
It's funny, peculiar. Yeah. That error, the Zebby error, didn't it come after on the same play where Carlos Santana didn't make a play? Wasn't it one of those where Santana didn't make a play and then Zebby had a drop? Is that what it was?
Well, and so, and then that's 2 games in a row where like Carlos Santana was on the receiving end of kind of like a big play. And so, it just goes to show that the first baseman giveth and the first baseman taketh.
Well, and it's just, as soon as I called Carlos like the most unsung, most important, underappreciated player.
Yep.
He I wouldn't say has a letdown, but those are plays that he's made other times. So that's all. So moral of the story is we should not give anybody any praise, because immediately they'll throw it back in our face.
Well, and so you were talking too about 0-2 counts. The Padres are an exceptionally difficult team to strike out. Struck out 3 times in the game on Monday, and the fact that big blow from Merrill came on a 2-strike pitch, it just, again, is very typical of the kind of things that the Padres have been capable of doing. And, they're the hottest team in baseball in the second half. And so, I mean, losing to them is not in any way shameful. I also want to ask you, what do you think of the Twins getting through the game, keeping it close? I mean, they brought the tying run to the plate late, but only used Zebby Matthews, Trevor Richards, and Caleb Thielbar. I mean, there's a lot of value in, look, the Padres used Adam, Scott, Suarez. You used Richards and Thielbar. Now you get to flip things on their head, where you have probably the better starter with Bailey Ober, the more rested bullpen, most likely, and you're facing Martin Perez. I don't know. I mean, I think the pendulum swing favors the Twins now in this one, much the same way that it did favor the Padres in the opener, for many of the same reasons, not the least of which, again, that the Twins pitching is going to be better lined up.
I don't know, Brandon, is Stephen Vogt managing the rest of the series? Because I think we might see the back. If he were, the back of the bullpen would be out there every single second. Yeah. Actually, the other day in the Guardians game, which they lost, he had to put Emmanuel Clase in the 8th inning and trailing because he hadn't pitched since Tuesday. So I would take advantage of the rest myself and not worry about him being whatever. I don't know what Tanner Scott's deal is and what Adams' deal is as far as being used on consecutive days.
Right.
As a GM of Robert Suarez in fantasy baseball, I know that they'll put him in whenever, wherever. So I think he'll probably be ready to go. I don't know what the effect is going to be on the setup guys in that case. So,
well, and Suarez hadn't worked in at least 5 days. It's 2 of the last 3 for Scott and Adam, 2 of the last 3 for Morjan, but he was off. Hoeing was off, but took the loss on Sunday. Estrada hasn't worked the last 2 days. Matsui worked on Sunday. And then their long guy, Sean Reynolds, hasn't worked since Friday. So their back end has, if there's anybody who's going to go back-to-back, that would probably be the case. Or it would be the case in this one. They've all worked yesterday. But only Suarez threw more than 15 pitches. So honestly, it's really hard to say if they go back well.
Here's what I would do if I were the Twins. I'd get a big lead in like the first or second inning and then just cruise from there and then not have to worry about putting the back of the bullpen in. I think the offense has had a couple of weird games where they got a good start against the Rangers and then fell asleep. And then they got a decent start against King and then kind of fell asleep a little bit. I think it's time again for the offense to do its thing. And that's with Manny Margot or not. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Well, he's probably going to be leading off against Martin Perez. We don't have a lineup yet because the game isn't for a good 9.
Yeah, hurry up, Garrett. I was going to call him Bob Garrett. Sometimes I call Bob Melvin. And Bob Melvin isn't there either. Mike Schilt. Schilt needs to happen tonight.
I'm also talking about the Twins lineup for who's going to face Martin Perez. So you're just failing all over the place. But
I was transitioning over to the Padres. What I want is Mike Schilt to put a lineup in, and then that will put pressure on Rocco. It's like, I got to get the lineup in because the other manager did it.
Do you ever think that his detractors call him Dip Schilt?
I hope not. That's not very nice. I think those guys. No, I think he's a guy that you don't make fun of because you're afraid he's going to beat you up.
Okay, well. So he's like everybody's older brother. Hey, let's take our first break. And when we come back, I want to talk about Willi Castro and a former Twin he reminds me of. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. You've heard us talk a lot about it. And we all have something different for everyone coming from FanDuel now through September 22nd. And so even if you are a new or experienced user at FanDuel, you get the chance to get in on betting $5 and getting a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. 3 weeks, which is all you'll need if you're a New Orleans fan to know that it's not going to be your year. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. Again, all you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sports book. By the way, Twins on there are -1.5 against the spread. They are a +146. They're -112 on the money line and -120 on the over/under, which is 7.5. And so I think yesterday's was 7, and there were 8 runs scored. So they are always pretty dang close. I think we're looking at a pretty low scoring game, but check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon, and download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Dave, I have been thinking about this comp for a while, and I want to hear what you think of it. I think you've actually heard it from me because I probably texted it to you, but Willi Castro reminds me of a guy who played for the Twins about 10 years ago. Eduardo Nunez. And I'm going to explain to you why that is. So first of all, there's the obvious, came out of nowhere, had been somewhere else, but was just kind of never got the traction they were expected to. Certainly Nunez being expected to replace Derek Jeter was an unenviable task. That was never the case for Willi Castro in Detroit, but moves over to the Twins and is an all-star, plays a little bit everywhere. And also he's not as unintentionally hilarious as Eduardo Nunez was. Like Eduardo Nunez, especially with the Yankees, if you look up highlights, it's like he would feel the ball like a ground ball standing on his head. And you'd be like, well, how did that happen to him? Did he step on a landmine, flip over, and field this ground ball all in the same motion? And Where I think I see the more obvious comparison between these two is on offense. I think every Willi Castro plate appearance starts the exact same way. First pitch strike that he takes, it's a good pitch, maybe not a great pitch. Second pitch strike where he swings at a pitch that's 3 feet outside, a breaking ball in the dirt. And then that's when he goes to work. As soon as you convince yourself that this guy's going to strike out on 3 pitches, he's not going to be anywhere close. And you're like, how does this guy have a 750 OPS? How is he an all-star? How does he get on base at all? And that's when he goes to work. He fouls off a pitch, takes a pitch, fouls off a pitch. And before you know it, it's 2-2 and he, grounds to second or gets a base hit or whatever. But I just feel like the way he goes about a plate appearance reminds me so much of Eduardo Nunez.
That's very funny. I wouldn't necessarily have thought of that at first, but
by the way, the helmet comparison, Eduardo Nunez's helmet used to fly off every time he'd round first base. I think Brooks Lee has that covered.
Does Willi Castro has a do-rag, right? Did Eduardo Nunez have a do-rag, or did he just have a funny haircut that lent itself to flying helmets?
I don't know. I think he had kind of like the fade, and Willi has like long hair. In fact, I was watching the games in Texas, and I was like, whoa, I didn't realize his hair had gone, to where it goes down his back a little bit. You can see it juxtaposed with the back of his jersey. It is kind of not unlike seeing Luis Arraez's hair in last night's game. He's got a wild man do right now too, which is it's a lot of fun. I will always love Luis Arraez and just the joy he brought to the ballpark with the Twins. And there's actually a really good story in The Athletic where he says, Minnesota's never far from his heart. He will never forget about Minnesota, but also he still has his apartment near Target Field. So not sure what that means necessarily, but
he's got some kind of
Airbnb
life activity going on over there. Like
maybe he rents it out to Willi Castro. Who knows?
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I like the comparison though. Castro's probably Nunez better defensive shortstop, and Castro's more of a better defensive outfielder because they both did play all over the field. I think Castro maybe relied on a little bit more. But it's who's the man? Was Molitor the manager in 2016?
Mm-hmm.
So did he kind of rely on Eduardo Nunez? Like it's almost like, I don't want to call him a security blanket, but Willi Castro is definitely a go-to guy. I mean, Rocco would not be Rocco without Willi Castro. The whole setup, how Rocco does the lineup, however it is, wouldn't work if Willi Castro's skills weren't what they were.
No question about it. I think too, like, as I recall, Nunez also batted leadoff a decent amount, especially when, Brian Dozier was hitting as well as he was hitting all them homers. You didn't want Dozier leading off as much. Yeah. So in the 2016 season, which was Nunez's all-star season, Brian Dozier led off 73 times. Eduardo Nunez led off 66. Well, what's important to note is that Nunez last led off on July 28th, and then he was traded to the Giants. And so he led off outside of Dozier for a few games to start the year. Jorge Polanco had a one-off in April. And then Danny Santana, Darren Mastriani, boy, I haven't thought of him for a while. Joe Mauer for a little bit. But Nunez was the leadoff batter for a large chunk of the middle of the season. And again, not your typical leadoff type characteristics or whatever, as far as, not a big on-base guy, more of a speed guy. But you know what? It seems to be working for Willi. I think he's top 5 in MLB in batting average as a leadoff batter. I don't know. I just think it's funny that, everybody talks about Rocco being such a spreadsheet manager, and he's got like the least conventional leadoff batter he could on the team batting leadoff right now. I mean, Carlos Santana would be the kind of guy that I would expect Rocco to have leading off instead.
He probably wants that. I think there's part of Rocco that would love it if Carlos Santana were the leadoff hitter.
This is the future Rocco Baldelli supporters want to see, and then it's like some daunting meme or something. You know what I mean?
I was looking at how the Twins got Eduardo Nunez and then how he left. Adalberto Mejia, he certainly had a career. It's not anything, though, that you'd worry about trading. That's how they got him. They traded let's see. The Twins traded Miguel Subaran.
Yep.
Subaran. Never heard of him. I never heard of the guy.
Actually, that trade was Rob Anthony when Terry Ryan was, I believe, was Terry Ryan sick? I think he'd had cancer and was away for a while, and Rob Anthony took over. And he told me after they traded him to San Francisco, he said, "Listen, Nunez was just so happy to leave New York and have a fresh, clean opportunity that he just couldn't stop thanking Anthony for that." And it wasn't necessarily that he didn't want to be in New York, or that he wasn't happy to be in the big leagues, but just I think that it had taken such a toll on him, those expectations, that coming to Minnesota and just kind of being himself was such a relief.
And he was a very solid player.
Yeah, he was. Very good.
He was. I think I don't even. But the funny thing is, I don't know if the Yankees fans or the Sphere would have been happy with Eduardo Nunez, even if he produced like he did with the Twins, which was a little bit above average, on offense and better than average on defense. So would that have been good enough for them? Who knows? These people are they take from your soul in New York.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We don't have to worry about them. Let's do our final break, and then I have some distressing news about TC Bear that I bet you haven't heard yet. So this should be good. All right, let's do that last break.
Sure.
PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, and it has over 5 million active members. And it's easy and exciting. The easiest and most exciting way, that is, to play daily fantasy sports, because it's just you against the numbers. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can go as risky as you want. You can go risk averse as you want, or you can mix and match. Maybe you want to be a little edgy with one thing, but you want to be safe on your other picks. The multipliers will ultimately reflect what kind of risk you take. You can win up to 100 times your money if you go really risky on PrizePicks with as few as 4 correct picks. Now, the math on that's pretty simple. You put in $10, you get out $1,000. Now, if you sign up today, though, you get $50 instantly when you play $5. So you don't even have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So if you think Tyreek Hill will get more than 90.5 yards in week 1, or Aaron Jones locally here will run for more than 66.5 yards against the Giants, you can cook up your hot takes with your friends and family and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. So if you have let your mind jump from baseball, you know what? Football's there. We're all about the baseball stuff, and baseball stuff still has plenty of opportunities for you to get that cash. But lots of options here. PrizePicks available in more than 30 states. So download the app and take a look if one of those states is yours. Download the app and use code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, all lowercase, and you'll get a first deposit match up to $100. That's LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, run your game. So, Dave?
Night. What's wrong with TC Bear? This is some kind of weird Greg Masterson stuff, isn't it?
This one goes out to the one I love, which is Greg Masterson, former esteemed guest of Locked On Twins. No, so you're not. I mean, you're no stranger to PR pitch emails, right? I mean,
get them all the time.
Minnesota Twins mascot named number 4. Fourth worst across entire MLB, according to
fourth worst
is the tagline here. Hi, Brandon. How are you? Well, I was better before I read that headline. As someone who covers Minnesota Twins, it's like going to hospital or doing math. I wanted to send you my client's latest fan base study. They surveyed 2,000 MLB fans to find out the MLB, she said the MLB, that's not going to fly. MLB's best and worst mascots. Using a nationwide survey, they assessed factors such as best, worst.
Worst?
No word after that. But most or least entertaining, most or least intimidating, as well as their sentiment towards mascots. Here's what fans revealed. TC Bear ranks as the number 4 worst MLB mascot with a score of 3.39 over 5. TC Bear ranks as the 11th most intimidating MLB mascot with a score of 3.43 over 5.
Intimidating.
Yeah, apparently it's because that bill of his cap is so long, I guess.
It's the least intimidating looking bear I've ever seen.
Oh, you've watched Bears quarterbacks for your entire life.
Why do you gotta go there?
Yeah, Rex Grossman? No, thank you.
Rex Grossman went to a Super Bowl, buddy. When's the last time the Vikings did that?
What did he do? Did he get a ticket just from Mike Tice or something?
Yeah, they lost, but he was there.
He did his best Trent Dilfer impersonation. I'm here to mess with you. 95% of fans feel mascots add to the game experience, while 89% say it's due to their entertainment value. So, yeah, I would. Here's the deal. Do you want to hear the 6 questions they asked?
Yeah.
Across every major professional sport, which is your favorite team mascot overall? Across every major professional sport, which mascot is the best entertainer? Which is your favorite MLB mascot? Which MLB mascot is the most scary or intimidating? Do you feel mascots add to the game experience? What do you like most about mascots? Now, isn't that a sin of omission versus commission, where if someone doesn't get mentioned, they just kind of tumble to the bottom? Well, maybe the people in this survey just don't really care about TC Bear, and it wasn't that they were negative about him. It's just that, it's like the AP top 25. Just because you're number 23 doesn't mean you're bad. It's just doesn't mean you're the best of the best.
Well, or if you're number 27, if you're just outside, you're not getting votes, maybe you should. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like a rigged poll. I don't know. I don't want to talk too much.
Very unfair. Very unfair.
Do you have any context? Like, well, who's number 1? Do you have that information?
Let's see here. Okay, well, so we have the average age of respondents was 42 years old. The representative sample comprised of 55.3% male, 44.2% female, 0.3% non-binary, and 0.1% transgender. So
it's interesting that they count that.
Yeah, I mean they really got their they really went granular with their analysis of it. MLB ranking. Oh, we do have rankings. How about that? So TC Bear, best or worst? Who do you think's number 1 for best and also most intimidating? It's the same one.
The Philly Fanatic.
The Philly Fanatic. So
but only really intimidating to like Tommy Lasorda. He's not really the Philly Fanatic is not really intimidating unless you are
Tommy Lasorda. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and Philly Fanatic's still here. Where are you at, Tommy Lasorda? I'm just saying. The best is Philly Fanatic, Mr. Matt, Blooper, Clark the Cub.
Blooper?
Yeah, right?
The guy from the Braves?
Yeah, he's
a Philly Fanatic thief, is what that guy is.
Billy the Marlin, Wally from the Red Sox, Bernie the Brewer, Pirate Parrot, Oriole
it's just
Bird.
Bernie Brewer. There's no the there.
No, Bernie. I was just, it's just Bernie. I know. Fred Bird, Mariner Moose, Paws, Baxter, Orbit, Rangers captain. Dinger is listed as a better mascot. Okay, I'm sorry. Dinger is not a better mascot. Slider, Southpaw, Rosie Red, and Lucille are all.
Lucille's all the way down there. I mean, if this was 10 years ago, Lucille is near the top because the Giants
in my day. Yeah, right. So TC Bear is ahead of. Actually, TC Bear is tied for 17th with Mrs. Met.
Mrs. Met's like the hottest mascot. That might be the hottest person in baseball or thing.
Slugger, Swinging Friar, and Raymond is the last one. Oh no, Stomper is worse, which is. Here are the more intimidating ones. So this is just going to make you laugh. Philly Fanatic, Baxter, the Diamondbacks, Pirate Parrot, Billy the Marlin. Dinger is 5th.
What, are you afraid the Pirate Parrot's going to sell you some drugs? Can I make like an older reference?
Clark the Cub is 6th. TC Bear is 11th. TC Bear is Clark fully realized in adulthood. How can a cub be more scary than a full-grown bear?
TC Bear have pants?
No.
Well, neither does Clark. Clark is famous for not wearing pants.
The
maybe that's the intimidating thing, that they don't have pants. The
methodology is broken. A cub can't be more intimidating than a grown bear.
Can I say something?
Please do.
Do we think that TC Bear has room for improvement, though? Do you think with some better marketing, or
he's like 8 feet tall?
It's a very friendly looking bear. I don't know. Shouldn't is it okay that it's a bear? Are there bears in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Oh, there are. I guess there are bears in Missouri too.
Every few years, there'll be like where I grew up, there'll be like oh hey, there's too many bears in town, and it's like one bear is too many bears in town. No bears should be.
Is this about Bears quarterbacks again? Are you doing one of those jokes?
I'm not doing a bit. Though I did, true story, beat TC Bear in a home run hitting contest one time, which is very rare. TC Bear, the old TC Bear.
You put that on your resume? That's pretty good.
I do actually. None of this new TC
Wait,
Bear.
what is the difference? I don't understand. I've never understood what the new versus is it just the hands?
No, they
the human hands?
They the guy in there. The guy.
I mean, it's not always going to be the same dude.
It was
Slugger. The Royals mascot Slugger followed me for 2 or 3 years because I hired him to go bother my wife at work one day.
So not on Twitter, just followed you like
no,
Gene Parmesan.
I meant on Twitter. Didn't follow me around. No, stopped following me around at one point. I assume because it was a different guy after a while. Or, yeah.
No. The Twins one was a really good home run hitter and would win every single weekend on Saturday. And then Tyler Mason and Rhett Bollinger, who you may be familiar with both, or at least Rhett with MLB.com.
Yeah.
Beat him in a home run contest. So that's how I'm going to walk off this show. I am ticked. This was a rigged contest. Clark the freaking Cub is not more intimidating than TC Bear.
I forgot that the Twins had a reporter named Tyler, too. They had 12 players named Tyler, 6 named Taylor, and 3 named Trevor.
Oh, hey, here's the quick one before we get out of here. AJ Cassavell from Padres.com. There are more fathers on the Twins, but more twins on the Padres.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Where's this? Can you show me this tweet so I can retweet it?
But we got to go. This is Locked On Twins, and we'll see ya
tomorrow night.